What the hell is going on with the FIA? You all probably saw this video coming, didn't you? I thought the end of last year would have been the worst the FIA could have got in terms of rules being followed properly and so on, especially considering they have carried out thorough investigations into their own processes and yada yada yada. Next year will be so much better. They're going to create their own virtual assistant referee. Promises, promises, promises. But when you actually look at some of the things that have happened this year, can we really say it's any better than 2021? Let's take a look at some of the big moments that have sparked our concern at how the FIA is being run, even now in 2022. The most recent example of the FIA acting like they've never read their own rulebook was the incident with Fernando Alonso at the Circuit of the Americas. That man drove his absolute heart out, got yeeted into the barrier through no fault of his own. His car somehow survived the crash. He finished the race in a glorious P7, only for the FIA to deliver him a huge 30-second, which would have been a drive-through, post-race penalty. However, this only happened because Haas complained that Alonso's car was sent back out into the race in an unsafe manner. The right wing mirror was hanging off. So the FIA decided to penalise Alpine despite never calling them into the pits using the black and orange flag during the race, which they have done for Kevin Magnussen countless times this year, only for Alpine to then protest the Haas protest because they submitted it too late, meaning the penalty was then taken off again. If this isn't the biggest red flag that the FIA still has huge issues keeping on top of everything, then I don't know what is. What an absolute shambles. And that's just one example, one of many from this season alone. Track limits have been a big talking point too this year, and questions raised over how consistent they actually are in applying these warnings and penalties. The biggest moment for this was when Sergio Perez corner cut in the middle sector at the Red Bull Ring in Q2, only for no one to notice in time, and the Red Bull driver went through to Q3 and stuck it fourth on the grid. He was later dropped down to 13th, which is fine, but it meant that Pierre Gasly, who didn't make it through to the last part of qualifying, but would have had Perez's lap time been deleted, wasn't able to do a lap to start any higher than 10th. You want another one? Oh, go on then. How about putting a tractor on the circuit in outrageously wet conditions? Yep, that happened during the Japanese Grand Prix this year. Now, I've been through this situation not that long ago and did a video on it, which you can check out here, but that was one of the worst decisions the FIA has made, ever. I love how when I go through these examples, they literally show there is incompetency everywhere. Whether it be penalties being handed out, deployment of tractors, or even the drivers wearing jewellery. Yes, the whole saga of whether Lewis Hamilton was able to wear jewellery whilst in the car. This particular moment, which seemed to go on for absolutely ages, was the time when the FIA really seemed to be the most active, which was just plain odd. Even Hamilton himself said, "Honestly, I feel like there's way too much time and energy being given to this. Perhaps they should have used some of that time to read their own rulebook." You also have moments like in Miami, where the drivers called for the wall to be replaced at turn 13, where both Sainz and Ocon crashed. It was basically like a concrete wall, only for the FIA to ignore their demands. Ocon's crash in particular registered a whopping 51 G. It was such a big force that it cracked his Alpine chassis and meant he couldn't take part in qualifying. But the FIA didn't do anything. Oh, and of course, how can I forget the travesty of not knowing if Max Verstappen was world champion or not in Japan? Yeah, it was a massive mix-up from everyone involved, but the FIA in particular, I still cannot believe did not communicate what the correct rulings were until after the race had finished. It really does have that SpongeBob gif where everything is on fire written all over it. Now, I'm sure I could make this a 30-minute video if I wanted to, but instead I just wanted to highlight that this year has been no better than what we had in 2021, despite all the promises and the additional race directors. The infrastructure is not good enough. Do we need to have another Abu Dhabi last lap disaster before they look into it again? I sincerely hope not. There you have it, a look into some of the crazy things that have happened this year with the FIA. What do you make of all of it? How would you improve things? Let us know in the comment section below.